Good evening, everybody. It's Martin Tuson from Rock Bmx Ministry here in Northern Ireland, 7 p.m. GMT here local time in Northern Ireland. It's great to be back again with another live stream. I'm really excited about our guests tonight. We have Matt Gillespie, Captain G, one of Northern Ireland's top ramp riders here, and also the owner of Thunderpark, which is an indoor skate park. It's a lot more than an indoor skate park, but Matt will be able to share more about that later on. We're just really thankful that Matt's come on tonight. It's great to have somebody local. Matt's been a great sort of promoter of the sport here and urban sports here in Northern Ireland. So Matt, we're just going to welcome you to the programme. Thanks, brother, for coming along and sharing.
Thanks very much for having me, Martin.
It's great to have you. And Matt, I think that we'll really start at the beginning with you with regarding BMX, how it all started in your life, and sort of what age did you have your first bike, and what sort of bike did you even have back then?
Well, I always remember having bikes. I haven't a clue when I started cycling actually, but I found a photograph in a pile of photographs in my folks' house, and my mum tells me that that's me, age 4, on I don't even know, maybe it's like an 18-inch bike or something. But She said that the day that my stabilizers were taken off, I just took to cycling straight away. And I don't really remember a time in my life when I wasn't on my bike. But I guess the BMX bug didn't really kick in for me at a young age. I think I was maybe 9 when I had first got a BMX. And the way that happened was my older brother, he's 6 years older than me. He used to go to the local recycling center, or as we call it, the dump. And he would pull bikes out of the dump on the way home from school, drag them up the road from Clare Street up to where we lived in East Belfast, and go out to the garage and use my dad's tools, because my father was a mechanic. And he would fix up these bicycles that he pulled out of the dump, and he would flog them, for whatever, anything. 10, 20, 30 quid, we're talking like 1996, 97. So, you were selling bikes for like 20 quid at that time. But I remember seeing him do that, and I was kind of hell-bent on football at the time. But he would have such a variety of bikes around the house. Some of them were, I couldn't even tell you the brands, but some of them were red and some of them were black, and some of them had a single top tube, and then there was double top tubes. And I just started to be aware of it because that's what I saw him playing with at the time. And of course, in most cases, older brother's cool, so I wanted to do whatever he was doing. And I remember seeing a chrome frame. I had no idea what it was at the time, but I saw a chrome frame and like a magpie. It was sparkling and it was on a top shelf somewhere in the garage, and I wanted to just look at it. I just wanted to look at it, touch it and see, what is this, and how heavy is it and all this kind of stuff. And he wouldn't let me touch it. So I was really annoyed that he had all these bikes and he wouldn't even let me hold one in my hands. So I remember going in and giving off to my mum. And, he wouldn't let me touch it. And lo and behold, that coincidentally wasn't that far away from my birthday. And I think it was maybe within 2 weeks to a month of me giving off to mum that my older brother wouldn't let me see this frame in the garage. And it was built up. He ended up building it up and giving it to me for my 9th birthday. So I'll never forget it. The doorbell rang, and when I was younger, I would always run to answer the door. So I ran to answer the door because it was my birthday. I thought it might have been an auntie and uncle or maybe my grandparents coming over. And it was my brother standing at the front door with this bike, and he gave it to me. And I just couldn't believe it. And you know what? I could tell you every part on that bike, even the day he gave it to me. I was so blown away, and I was so pleased that my first experience of actually touching it, it was mine. He gave it to me. And I went out into the front driveway where we lived, and there was a bit of space, and it was tarmacked. So it was nice and flat, and it only had a front brake. So there was no skids to be had. It was endos or nothing. And I think I remember learning like 1 or 2 tricks on the first evening that I got it. Nothing serious. I think I did an endo of some kind. Maybe I didn't even mean to. I was probably falling and luckily managed to hold on. But I do remember getting the back wheel off the ground, and I think I was even close to being able to bunny hop day one. And I tell you, that excitement from that day, like the day of my 9th birthday, right through, never ever dropped, never waned. It was just 100% awesome. And I didn't want to do anything else but bikes from that point, you know.
And you were sort of brought up, Matt, in the sort of mid-school era, weren't you? Where I'm more sort of an old school, but I like the fact you got the endo in there. So see, Matt, from there, you all right? You're 9 years of age. You've got the bike. How did it progress for you regarding? Because I know you went on to do really well, and you went on to competing. And how did the whole journey come with getting better and then getting into the more sort of serious mid-school stuff?
Well, so it was like 1996 or 97 at my 9th birthday. And round the corner from where my parents' house was an Iceland shop, which is now Marks and Spencer's. And there was a big car park. I think it was like a 50 or 60 car park. And a couple of other friends of mine at the time, we all got BMXs within about 2 or 3 months of each other. I wasn't actually the first one to get one. My friend Matt was, but we were going literally, you're talking 100 steps away from my front door was this big car park, literally around the corner. And we would just go there every day after school and spend hours and hours and hours, you know, trying to bunny hop, jump off a curb, jump onto the curb, do an endo. And then I think maybe 2 months after that, it was like one of my other friends, I think it's that guy Matt again, got trick nuts for his bike. And then he started telling me and showing me about feeble grinds and things like that. And I remember he had bought Ride Bmx magazine out of a local newspaper shop. And, you know, at that point, we were just looking at pictures in the magazines and seeing people doing tricks and things and like trying to work it out. So we really I didn't get into BMX because I saw somebody cool do a trick. I got into BMX because my brother had them around and I thought it was cool. I wanted one. It kind of just, the whole doing tricks and things evolved from it's exciting to have a BMX to, whoa, you can actually do tricks on these. And a little initial group of friends that I had, I guess we became kind of competitive pretty quick because we all realized that they were designed for tricks and we all had one and who's going to do what trick first, you know, and we were just like relentless about everything, you know. Imagine 6 or 7, 10-year-old, 11-year-olds in a car park all trying endos frantically at the same time. We didn't even know what we were doing. I don't even think the goal was to keep the front wheel up for any more than a second. It was just like, who's looked nice and could you land it without putting your foot down? And that kind of thirst for progression was kind of there right at the beginning. It was just so fun and exciting. It just overruled everything else. You know, I didn't bother with computers, didn't bother with consoles, didn't really bother with joining football teams. You know, even though I always kind of played football or soccer in school, I didn't really want to pursue that. I just wanted all of my spare time to be on a bike. And I pretty much did that for a good 15 years solid, you know, nothing really but bikes.
Yeah. I'm sure you could chase down in many car parks.
Every car park you could think of, we've been told to go away. And that really all comes down to the occupier's liability insurance clause. If somebody hurts himself on your property, whether it's anything to do with you or not, you know, there's an issue to be had there. So yeah, I've been told to go away from just about everywhere. And all that really does is, you know, if you're told to go away from one place, then you explore and you find somewhere else and then use it until you're told to go away and then venture another 200 meters up the road and just keep doing that until you've explored your entire neighborhood. And I think we did that actually. I think we ridden our bikes just about every square foot you could.
You basically, so you went round about sort of, what sort of age then, Matt, did you, I know I seen some of your videos earlier on and like, through my mind, I didn't realise that you know, the skill level and the talent that there was there, well, you know what I mean? When did it start? I know you did do some competing, didn't you? But did you have sponsors at some point as well? And what about, I think I seen a magazine article as well with a picture of you in it. Can you maybe tell us a wee bit about the journey regarding competing and stuff?
Yeah, so I guess really when just to sort of follow on from where I was a second ago, I got this bike at 9, kept riding around car parks locally and church car parks and school playgrounds and all those kinds of things until we eventually got to the point where I think we ventured to Ormo Park, and that was like about a mile and a half away from my house. So when I was there at about the age 11 or 12, that was a big long distance away from my parents' house. That was like really far to be away from home. It felt like a flipping road trip, you know what I mean? Because we didn't really know where we were going. We just knew the general direction. But that's where I met other BMXers for the first time. And that was really exciting to see people with, different kinds of bikes or better bikes than us. And then we're just like, whoa, what tricks can you do? Where did you get that bike? And then it was the influence of the magazines was really kind of important at that point. Is, oh, well, we bought these parts from a magazine and we know what tricks to do because of a video we bought. And that's when I kind of got real hell bent on BMX. It was like, wow, there's magazines to buy and there's videos to look at. And I think one of the first ever videos I got it was called Nowhere Fast, and it came out in the year 2000. It was late 99 or 2000. And actually that was like, for anybody who knows that video and loves BMX, that was an absolute pivotal point in the progression of BMX where people were just doing really crazy, cool, awesome street stuff in this video with amazing soundtracks, pretty much all filmed in America by a guy called Dave Parrick. I'm almost positive I watched that video until it literally broke in the VHS player. So we're talking high hundreds, maybe 3 times a day, every day. It never ever got old because the music was really cool and the riding was just so out there. You had so many different things to try. You could try doing ledge stuff, or you could just try and emulate what was in the video, and it was so amazing. But after that, I don't think I rode a ramp of any kind until I was BMXing for at least 4 or 5 years. I think the very first skate park, the very first ramp I ever touched on a bike, wooden ramp, was in an event in Belfast run by the skate shop. Not the skate shop. It was a shop called Apache. It was like the first place where you could go to buy like baggy trousers and skater shoes and things like that. And they ran this skateboard event in St. George's Market, and they had got some ramps. And I remember it was so basic. You're talking like a 6 foot wide, 4 foot high quarter pipe, same flat bank the other side, spread out over 100 meters or whatever, with a driveway in the middle and a ground ledge. And it was just like, whoa, this is it. This is the mecca, And now it would look, now it would seem so basic, but we're talking hundreds of people there. And that was just so amazing. I think I was maybe 13 whenever I had seen that. And I think within about a year or a year and a half from that point, a little indoor skate park was opened up in North Belfast off the Antrim Road. And that was a crazy place. That's where I really started learning ramp riding for the first time, and almost instantly riding quarter pipes and transferring and wall riding and faking and whatever. It was just like, wow, this is epic, So I really kind of got the bug from it there. But I guess it was maybe another 2 or 3 years on from there, and another skate park got opened at that time, which is in Eddie Irvine's in Bangor right now, where my park is. And I was riding that place for maybe a year to a year and a half before I had went and sort of entered my first BMX competition outside of Northern Ireland, which was in Southsea Skate Park in England, in the south of England. And it was called King of Concrete. So to the best of my memory, from the kind of mid-90s right up until the mid-2000s and late 2000s, King of Concrete was one of the biggest competitions in the UK. When I was going there, Martin, I'm telling you, the amateur competition was just like something else. there could be 300 people entered in the amateur competition. So you're talking, there wasn't even qualifying. It was just you got in there, did your run, and you found out the next day if you qualified. And it took an entire day to get through the amateur comp. And it was just pure BMX. Everybody who was there loved BMX or loved to watch it. And don't ask me how, but I went over to that competition in 2003. That was my first time competing in England. And I ended up winning the amateur competition, which is just, it still blows my mind actually, because when I think back to it, I wasn't even doing tail whips or anything at that time. But I was just trying everything possible. And that place had some really big ramps. It had a vert ramp and it had this thing called, what's it called? The toilet of some kind. It's like 13-foot tall concrete bowl. It was just nuts. And I was that excited to be riding these things. I was just, going buck daft. And I ended up winning that competition, which was the most insane thing ever, because you feel like a complete nobody going into a contest scene in a country surrounded by riders, rich in heritage, rich in sort of contest legacy and all these amazing riders and brands and pros, and you're like a guy from Ireland that no one's ever heard of Ireland or anything like that, and you come over and get in the mix and end up winning the contest. It was just nuts. And it was the best time ever, to be honest with you. I just loved everything about it. The weather, the music, the vibe. It was just absolutely amazing.
You do find you made, but with you winning that competition, you made everybody knew that Matt Gillespie had arrived. And that I
don't know about that. I think the fact that I was ginger and I had really bright orange hair and it stood out like a sore thumb. You know what I mean? Everybody else who I went to that event with, maybe had dark hair and were tanning with the sun, and I was this wee super white ginger guy, just burning in the sunlight. And funny, just having the Mickey taken out of you for scenarios like that, you actually make a surprising amount of friends, where in other social circles you wouldn't. You know what I mean? BMX is kind of forgiving in that way. But I met people at that event. I'm still friends with them now.
Amazing. What about, I always go on when our guests on, one point I always bring up is their injuries. What sort of injuries have you, what collection of injuries have you had over the years, if you want to share?
Do you know what? Touch wood. I have been real lucky. Compared to a lot of my friends, I think I've got through the guts of 24 years of BMX with lots of cuts, lots of deep gashes and loads of stitches. But I mean, I broke my kneecap once. I broke my toes several times. I broke my collarbone. A compression fractured 2 vertebrae, which sounds worse than what it was. But I mean, I couldn't really stand up straight for about a year and a half. I broke my tailbone. That sucked. Couldn't sit comfortably for months. I ripped one of my incisor teeth right out of my mouth. BMXing. Don't ask me how I did that. That was so random. And then I broke my radial head of my elbow mildly. But we're not talking like big leg snaps, or I haven't lost any ligaments or anything like that, And I just feel really kind of lucky actually to have gotten as far as I have without really nailing myself. But this is where I'm now feeling like a fool. I'm trying to find wood to touch so I haven't scudded myself. But yeah, listen, 20 years without any major surgeries is doing all right,
That sounds bad enough, Matt, to me, all that in 20 odd years. I
always see people breaking legs and ankles and things like that, and I think it sounds terrible. I've no pins or anything. I just have some toes that don't bend. That's pretty funny. They're just like sticks that don't bend anymore. I've broken them so many times, they're just fused, But my body feels okay. I got away all right.
Yeah.
Always wore pads.
Yeah, pads. I know what. just anybody who's
Always like,
watching. I met Matt. I first met Matt about 2014 when I was just getting back into BMX. When Matt was running the T13 there up at the Titanic Quarter. I think I had my wee black Specialized Vegas. I think it was a jump
Specialized
bike at the time. Yeah,
dirt
Specialized. So
bike.
I had that, but dirt bike, yeah, great bike. But I think I started learning to do front hops again on that. But Matt, I want to get on to also, the whole sort of journey. I know with competing, and then the passion and all regarding getting the parks up and running, and sort of share a wee bit of history, like with T13, and then up to where we are now. I know that it's been a slog at times, and but right up with Thunderpark. And now Thunderpark, anybody listening tonight, Thunderpark is in Eddie Irvine's here in Bangor, Northern Ireland. Anybody calling over overseas or in the BMX or scooters or skateboards, you have to check it out. But it's more than an indoor skate park. It's in a sports academy as well, and it's not just about being an indoor skate park. Could you sort of share the progression, Matt, with how it all started, getting into the skate park thing, and then moving forward on to Thunder Park, and also, Matt, if you could mention, you've met a few famous people in your day as well, haven't you? In the BMX world and outside the BMX world. That's an awful lot to ask.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll answer the skate parks thing first. So, in 1999, in a place called Eddie Irvine Sports, which is named after the Formula One race car driver Eddie Irvine, he bought an ex-carpet factory in Bangor in Northern Ireland and was making it into a go-kart centre. And I think two local businessmen approached them and asked could they put a skate park in. And it was called Rampage. And it opened in 99, and they didn't let BMXers in until the year 2000. For whatever reason, I don't know, but they didn't let BMXers in. But anyway, that was so cool. That was a full park of all kinds of ramps. You had a small mini ramp at 3 or 4 feet. You had a bigger one at sort of 6 feet. Jump boxes, quarter pipes from sort of 5 to 9 feet. Every ramp that you could imagine at that time, 99, was there. Foam and resi wasn't even a thing. But every kind of ramp that you could want to ride indoors was there. And that was my local park. Now, it was about 12 miles away from where I lived. And I always had to either cycle, get a train, or beg a lift. But I think I went to that park twice a week for about 5 years until it eventually closed. Now, it literally closed all of a sudden. It was like I went to ride on Thursday and I came back on Sunday and the skate park was gone. It wasn't, hey, we're closing down or we're going to have a farewell event. It was just, you had somewhere where you spent all of your time and met all of your friends, and then it was gone. And I mean, that was an absolute arrow through the heart for me because nothing was more important than BMX. And I spent all of my time in there watching videos, coming down and trying things, and just meeting with a group of friends and almost having like a pep talk at the start of the night. Okay, what are you going to learn? And, well, I watched this video and I saw this, so I'm going to try this. And funny thing was, we all actually didn't ride the same way. So the things that I was trying to learn wasn't necessarily what the rest of my group of friends were trying to learn. But it was exciting and we loved it and we spent all of our time there. And when we weren't there, we thought about it. So when that disappeared, that was such a shock. It was just like, it was almost like a relative dying. I couldn't believe it. It was had such a profound impact on me. And I guess I had to go for about a year without a skate park up until the point where I was riding a local bike track with a friend, an old racetrack. And a photographer came over to me and asked me, could he take a picture of what I was doing for a magazine? And I mean, I think I was maybe 14, 15, and no, it wasn't. I was older. I would have been about 17. And I said, yeah, of course. So I let this guy take this bar spin picture of me. And he asked for my mobile number, and I gave it to him. And he says, I'll give you a shout about your photo being in the mag, if we're going to use it or not. And I didn't think any more about it. And a little while after that meeting, I got a phone call from a guy saying, would I like to come and have a conversation about getting a skate park for Belfast? And of course, loving skate parks and loving riding ramps and having nothing, and some random person phoning you saying, oh, I run a magazine and I want to have this conversation about getting a skate park. Do you want to come? I was all over it. So within a short space of time after that, this particular guy who ran a magazine called Free Flow got myself and a load of other local guys together. So there were other BMXers and there were skateboarders. And we all got together and had a meeting and decided that we were going to form a group and try and lobby our local council to get an outdoor skate park. So we started that in 2006. And one of the things that we decided to do to prove to our council that opening a skate park was a good idea and it could be justified was to open an indoor skate park and then use all the statistics of people coming through the door, like what age they were and how far they came to get there and what sports they do and all that kind of stuff. And we were using those stats to say to the council, listen, if there was an outdoor free concrete skate park in Belfast, you could almost be sure that the numbers that we're showing you would be double because it would be free, So we opened a skate park called Unit 13 in 2007, built it ourselves, funded it ourselves, and ran it for 3 years. Absolutely awesome. Probably some of the best times of my whole life. Learning how to build ramps, learning how to coach. That's when I sort of understood the importance of kind of teaching people for the first time, and that if we really wanted to have impact with what we were doing and get people to pay attention and sort of grow the sport, then we would have to actively be passing knowledge on to future generations or people who just wanted to try it out and basically give them our tips and tricks of how to get into this sport without nailing themselves. Because as everybody watching this will know, if you're into BMX, almost all of our friends who aren't into BMX think it's the most deadly thing on the planet and they'll break bones with their neck at any given second, So whenever you're offering a sort of a coaching experience, that can sort of get people out of that way of thinking real quick. So that first skate park that we opened and ran, that lasted 3 years, and it was so successful that we moved out and went to the Titanic Quarter in Belfast, which is where the Titanic ship was built. And we managed to negotiate the use of a big old building, which was part of the initial shipyard of Harland and Wolff in Belfast. And the guys in the Titanic Foundation, which was the company that managed the whole Titanic Quarter, they basically gave us the use of a building that we went into and ran another indoor skate park, and that was called T13, which is basically a Titanic version of Unit 13 skate park, and that's really where the name came from. And again, that was a way of just supporting the scene and allowing it to grow and build all different kinds of ramps that we've never had, run events, and really kind of showcase that action and urban sports are cool and credible and are amazing, and people should come and watch them and take part in them. And by kind of taking the Unit 13 skate park and stepping up to T13, we went from 6,000 square feet to 100. That we were in a 100,000 square foot building. As you know, it was ridiculously massive. It was like a penny in a shoebox. The shoebox was the building. The penny was the size of the skate park we had in it. Now, I think we ended up at one point, we maybe had about 30,000 square feet of ramps in the 100,000 square foot building. But even still, it was incredible because having so much space allowed us to actually build a skate park for everybody. And what I mean by that is we built an area specifically just for BMX, and it was called the Rhythm Room. So it was like indoor wooden jump box area, like a sort of smaller scaled down version of Ray's MTB park. So BMX and MTB could ride these jump boxes 7 days a week undisturbed. And then in another part of the building, sort of beside it, but not directly attached to it, we built a plaza just for skateboarding and sort of guys who were enjoying street riding. And then over time, and that developed, we built a second plaza that ended up turning into the most popular indoor scootering spot in the whole of the country. It was rammed with scooters. And then the rollerblade guys, and there was quite big numbers of those guys at a time. They approached us with a design and said, listen, would you build this for us? And we were like, if you're willing to come this many times a week or a month, yeah, we'll build it for you. So I think in the sort of peak of T13 would have been about 2013, right about the time when you were just getting back into it. That's when the place was, I would say, at its best. We had a BMX only area, a skateboard only area, a scooter only area, and a rollerblade only area, all in one building. And everybody came to visit and got to ride exactly what they wanted, but didn't necessarily have to share it with somebody else who they didn't want to. So it worked perfectly. But the building was so big and so vast that people couldn't help themselves by dream and come up with these amazing ideas. So the skate park actually evolved into an event venue, and we started running sort of cultural events and music events, and we even hosted Rihanna for her music video "We Found Love." So if you Google it and you watch the music video of Rihanna's music video, you'll see that she's inside a skate park in Northern Ireland. Well, nobody knew where it was, but I think we got about 3 hours notice by the production company that was making the video, and they asked us could they come and hire our venue to film a music video. They didn't tell us who it was for, but we were just like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. Now, I didn't have the conversation, but again, I was in work that day, and before we knew it, there was about 30 stage trucks there and hundreds of people, and next thing you know, in our building, in our skate park, is Rihanna. And there are filmers there with these ginormous video cameras that are like, a person on someone's shoulder. And we filmed about 30% of her music video in our building in about 10 hours. And insane. I mean, like, you couldn't make it up. It was just nuts. And it all just happened, really kind of quick. And then after that, the place just got broader and broader. I went into it and I thought, I want to make the most substantially amazing indoor skate park I can, and I want anybody in this country who wants to get good and wants to chase their passion, I want to build the ramp that they need to allow them to get good. I wanted Northern Ireland to come up level with the rest of the UK and have well-known riders, have a good reputable scene, and somewhere that people would want to travel and visit. And it was getting that way, but the building evolved, and as the building evolved, kind of more people came in, and it kind of get to the point where, for me personally, being very passionate about urban sports, and about at the point of 2015, I just felt that we had moved so far away from what we had started in the beginning that it didn't make sense to me anymore. And at that point, I just thought, you know what? My work here is done. I've given it 5 years of my life. I would tell you, Martin, I don't think I did less than 70 to 90 hours a week for 5 years straight. And that takes a on you, So in 2015, I kind of thought to myself, do you know what? We've done a lot of really cool things, insanely cool things, mainly impractical and highly unrealistic, but cool. And that was enough for me to just go, do you know what? This has been fun, but I'm taking a break because I don't know where I'm going right now. So I ended up sort of stepping away from that. And I think the venue maybe closed down about a year after that. For whatever reason, I actually didn't stay in contact with any of the people that I was running it with, because it just got to the point where it wasn't working out, not for me anyway. I wanted to run a good quality skate park that I knew what was happening 7 days a week and could rely on things, and things were dependable. And that kind of wasn't happening at the time. So I kind of thought, you know what, I'm going to take a break, regroup, and see how I feel. And what I ended up doing is, after leaving T13 in 2015, I knew I didn't want to do anything else. So I think within a month of leaving, I had went and registered a new business for myself. And I was kind of really just finding my feet and working out what I could do on my own. Because I think at its peak, whenever I left that skate park, there was maybe 40 staff. Now, a lot of them were volunteers, but there was 40 people to delegate things to, and 40 different experiences and experience levels. And I kind of went from 40 to 1. So it's like, right, Matt, what can you do on your own? And I just slowly but surely thought, right, okay, I'm going to start coaching because I'm good at coaching. It's what I do. I enjoy it. So I went out and approached youth groups and councils and community organizations and said, listen, if you want to do something fun with your kids, let's do BMX and scooter coaching. I can do that for you. And I just kind of built it back up from starting again on my own to, well, actually, I went to the Princess Trust quite shortly after leaving. They gave me some help. I went through this thing called the Enterprise course, which basically is prepping you for setting up your own business. And went through the course, met a mentor called David, and really kind of worked with him in the trust with sort of getting the loan together, getting a business plan, getting on my feet, getting sort of back in the mix. And that was working out. It was doing really well. We started doing events, BMX stunt shows. So we came up with a brand called Thunder Action Sports, and we were doing stunt events. And people were asking us time and time again, you know, where do you guys practice? You know, can we come to your venue? And it's kind of a case of, I was asked that question so many times. This is around about 2017. People were asking us so often, where do you go? Where do you train? And it was almost like embarrassing to say, we don't ride anywhere. There are no skate parks. We have this equipment and we practice on it and we come and do these events. And I guess I kind of thought to myself, you know, there's clearly a substantial interest to continue doing this skate park thing again. So I ended up finding the building that I'm in now, literally completely coincidental. I was looking for buildings to put a skate park in, and I was looking at a building behind Bangor Elam Church, that big thermoplast building. I went to try and see would they give me a quarter of it, but they didn't want to separate it. And when I came out to the end of the road, and Elam is here and Eddie Irvine's is across the road, I phoned Mikey, who for the records is a very good friend of mine. We have been BMX buddies for 25 years, always good friends. And he was working with me doing the stunt shows and coaching BMX as well. And I kind of phoned him and told him that the big building I was looking at didn't work out. You know, they weren't willing to separate it up to give me space for a skate park. And Mikey asked me where was I at the time when I was on the phone to him. And I said, I'm just sitting across the street from Eddie Irvine's. And the reason why that name would resonate to he and I was that's the building that the skate park was in that closed down in 2005 that we were really devastated about. And he said to me, why don't you go in and see if they've got space? And I kind of light bulb moment happened, and I thought, jeepers, I never even considered it, because once the skate park closed and left, I never went back to that building for any reason, because nothing there appealed to me. But lo and behold, I drove across the street, went inside, had a look around the building, and I thought, you know what? I think there is space here. So I asked, could I speak to a manager? And the guy who I got talking to, I actually remembered him from the building way back in 2005. So we're talking like 13 years later, the same staff members there, but he's now a manager. And I said, listen, I have run skate parks for a long time. And he says, oh, yeah, I remember the skate park that used to be here. And I says, right, well, when that closed, I opened other skate parks. And now I'm looking to do it again. Would you be up for giving me some space in here? And he was very receptive to the idea. He was very friendly. He gave me the name and the number of the person I needed to speak to. So I went outside, all biz, sat down with all this enthusiasm and typed an email literally in the car park, turned my data hotspot on and sent it to the person I needed to send it to. Got an answer back the next day of, yeah, I'll come and have a chat with you about it. And then bish, bash, bosh, about 8 months later, we were in there, starting all over again with a big flat open space. And that was it. We were going to build a park. And that was in mid 2017. So what we're looking at on the screen right now is a big L shape of space. So the right-hand side where the forklift is, that was like a little indoor crazy golf type thing. And where we're standing piecing this ramp together was a hairpin of the go-kart track. So what the Eddie Irvine's team did was they sort of reconfigured their go-kart track to give us a bit of extra room on top of the space of the indoor crazy golf. And that's why our park is really bizarrely an L shape. So another cool story about this actual skate park, or the park that we built here, was every person that was helping me build this park had never touched power tools before us starting this project. So literally the only person in the team of building Thunderpark who knew how to put a screw in straight or how to use a chop saw or anything was me. And I only knew because I had kind of taught myself out of necessity of, if I don't build this, we don't have anything to ride. So I can't believe we actually got it across the line, to be honest with you. The other amazing thing is we didn't have any walls. So getting things straight, you know, if you've ever built a ramp and it ain't straight, the wood doesn't go on straight, the screws don't line up, you know, we didn't have any walls to build off because we were at least 2 meters off a wall in every direction, and sometimes more. So getting an entire skate park straight and lining up with no gaps over 150 feet was just the biggest challenge in my life, especially with people that it was hard to delegate to, because you were asking them, or I was thinking to myself, every time I need to delegate a job to somebody, it's like, have they done this before? You know, can I delegate that job without something getting broken or somebody getting hurt? And I tell you, we managed to build Thunderpark from absolutely nothing to a finished facility in just over 4 months, with a team of really friendly, dead-on guys who were just willing to help me do it. You know, there was no proper wages. There was no 9 to 5. It was like we started at 7 a.m. We finished at 7 p.m. and we took 1 day off a week for 4 months until it was built. And it's hard to find people who will do that. I don't even know how I did get those guys to do that, but I think it's because they knew that it was going to end up something that they wanted to ride and a place that they wanted to be. And they saw me putting in the hours, so they were willing to do it with me. And thank goodness I had them, because I wouldn't have the park if I didn't have those 3 real dedicated guys. So that was Joel Harbour, Maggie, and Dave King. And those I'll be forever for them, helping me bring that sort of project to life.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears, Matt. Like, you know, and I know it's been difficult, and with the COVID situation and all, it's been really difficult. It's good that the park it's opened last Thursday, so everybody can make their way. I loved it when I just live around the corner. I loved seeing the kids and their scooters all heading that direction. And but I just personally want to say something myself regarding Matt. A fond memory I have of Matt was when I went first into T4 or T13. I remember I was doing a sponsored front top sponsor thing for a sick children's cancer unit for the Royal Victoria Hospital, and I remember getting in there, and Matt let us use the space there, and I remember a very, very strong memory of, I remember Matt giving me the morning's takings for the sponsorship. I'll never forget that, you know, that he did that. It was amazing. That always sticks in my mind, and Matt's been very supportive for what I do as well. He's let me come in as well, and even though I'm not a ramp rider, I'm sort of more a old school rider, you know. So what's the future, Matt? Then just keep on pressing on. I know we were speaking earlier about there's lots of work with the council and doing youth work, and then the shows, possible shows, and then obviously the parks opened up again. You need another 3 or 4 of you.
Cheapers. Doesn't everybody that work for themselves need another 3 or 4 of them? That would be amazing. Well, now that the park's open, I guess an important thing to note was that whenever we were building it, because I have experience of building other parks and I basically have tested a lot of ideas prior to this, I knew that I wanted this place to be somewhere that all ability levels could go to at one time. So I only had so much space and I only had so much budget to build stuff. So I thought, right, listen, in this 14,000 square foot space, we need to have something that beginners can ride on. We need to have something that a pro can get ready for a contest on, or somebody can take an idea of a trick and try it in the foam pit, try it on the resi, then try it on the step up, and then the jump box. That kind of all-in progression. That's what really kind of was a real core idea of this place for me, and I'm really, really happy to say that worked out. And actually, I would say within the first maybe 3 months of opening this place, I would say we had no less than 50 tricks that had never been done before in any park anywhere in Ireland. All happened in our place because we now had the ramps. So
amazing,
absolutely about that. And moving forward from that, that's kind of, in my opinion, that's brought Northern Ireland up a level that we've never had before. So moving on from, I guess now moving forwards, I would expect to see several pro BMX and scooter riders, and maybe even skaters, ramp skaters, coming out of Northern Ireland and sort of making a name for themselves in the UK scene, because there is something pretty good to ride at home now. But moving forward, and thankfully we made it through lockdown without going out of business. But moving on from now, there's a real keen interest in councils who have sort of either worked with us in the past or noticed who we are and what we're doing. They're kind of thinking, okay, now that we're out of lockdown, we need something exciting and different, and to get people out of the house and back into sport and physical activity. So thankfully, we've had several councils approaching us all over Northern Ireland, actually, and Ireland, and asking for us to come and do either short or sort of one-day events and programs to showcase the sports and let people try them out. So we're doing taster days literally all over the north of Ireland. And even as recent as yesterday, events have been asking us, we would like you to come and bring your stunt team and do a stunt show for us, as almost like a celebration, welcome back to freedom type of thing, So I'm going to be doing that up in 2 weeks' time, which is amazing. And I'm so glad that people are looking at us as a sort of a worthy option to get people excited and out and back into sports. So, I mean, we're buzzing for it. We're just so glad to be able to get back to work. And we're really looking forward to watching and seeing the scene grow here over the next whatever. I mean, I have no intentions of leaving this industry. So if there's another skate park and another one and this and that, whatever comes, but I'm up for it all.
That's amazing. Well, Matt, we're sort of coming to the end now of the broadcast, but I know what you're saying, because I can relate myself to what I do. I know I do. My outreach is something very similar. I know it's not on a big scale like you do, but I mean, I'm just going out and the kids are, getting them away from sitting in front of their phones and, on televisions. And obviously I share my Christian testimony as well, which is an important thing for me. But I want to say, Matt, just me personally, is that you're an inspiration, and a legend,
Thanks.
and everybody will agree with me. But I just want to add to everybody's watching this, anybody here coming over from overseas or whatever, or wanting to maybe be involved with Thunderpark and even an event or whatever, do contact Matt or myself, and because a lot of people here on my Facebook really weren't aware of Matt stuff. But Matt, just quickly, how did you get the name Captain G?
Well, one of the guys who I work with in the skate parks prior to me leaving and doing Thunder, I got the nickname because whenever we were organizing stunt show events, I would sort of go into organization mode, and I wanted to pick the music, and I wanted to pick the team, and I wanted to pick the uniform, and I just wanted to organize things because it was really important to me how it looked and felt. And I just got the nickname Captain by being the guy who wanted to make sure that things were done right, and then it kind of stuck. And some people now, a lot of people from public events would only know me as actually Captain. They have no idea what my real name is because I got called that for so long. Stunt events and events and things like that over a 10-year period. A lot of people don't even know I'm called Matt. They just call me Captain, which is kind of funny,
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, no, I was just thought I would ask it. Anyway, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know you've been really, really busy and with all the park opening, and I appreciate the time. And I want to thank Gavin again for Word Out Media for doing the broadcast. And anybody again who doesn't maybe know me, most people know me on the Facebook. I'm involved with Rock Bmx Ministry. It's a sort of a Christian outreach where I share my testimony through the old school freestyle. So, Matt, anyway, we're going to draw it to a close, and we're going to get this on the YouTube as well. And I want to thank you again for the time, and just keep on pressing on, brother.
Thanks a lot. You know I will. You too, man.
I will, and I'll catch up, Matt, with you again soon. So
100%. Awesome. It was good talking to you.
Yeah, you're welcome. God bless. God bless. Yeah.